Hi, this is Sam.
And Christian.
With Button Mash Studios, and today we're going to be talking about Hitman 2, which we have just been playing for the past 2 days.
First of all, what were your general thoughts?
This is honestly probably one of my favorite games.
Really?
I would go so far as to say it's one of my favorite games. Not necessarily because it's completely that good, but just because it does something different and it does it very well. There really aren't a lot of good stealth games. Like, I actually just watched somebody online play this really shitty game like Rogue Warrior or something.
I've heard of it.
You can literally sprint up behind people and do stealth kills nonstop. I really like this one because it's a very slow game, it's a very methodical game. I actually spent a good portion of time just on the map screen watching enemies and figuring out where is the best location to go, what is the best thing to do, and how am I going to reach my target.
I noticed that too. I actually noted that the map utility was really good because you could see them moving in real time. So you could kind of get acquainted with their routes a little bit by just standing there on the map screen and looking around. I also liked the markers, although they weren't as descriptive as I would have liked. But I actually generally disliked the game.
Really?
Yeah. It didn't seem like it rewarded stealth enough. In the way that if you broke out of stealth, or if you were caught or something like that, there was no chance 47 was going to go down.
Yes and no. I'd agree the enemies are really stupid when it comes to the actual combat section, and you can just mow them down really easily.
Completely ineffectual.
However, 47 actually really doesn't have all that much health either.
At one point I was trapped in a hall, and there was a dude in front of me, and I just shot him down, and I realized I was being shot at from behind. And there were 3 dudes behind me. I reloaded and killed all 3 of them, and lost only a little bit more than half of my health.
See, I've had situations like that, and I just got completely murdered.
For some reason, the combat was just way too easy.
I got to a point where there were a few times where I got caught, and I was just running away, and once you get past 20 feet away from them, they can't hit worth a shit. They're like stormtroopers.
That's absolutely true. The main reason I disliked it is because maybe it's because I played it on normal difficulty, and I should have played it on hard. I did the 6th mission in 2 minutes and 50 seconds or something like that, just because I ran through and just mowed down everyone. It was easy.
I just finished the 5th mission, and that was when I stopped. And I actually got through the 5th mission pretty quickly, and at that point I just lost all patience and pretty much murdered everybody.
That was the one with the mansion.
Yeah, right? That was the party.
I finished that one in 12 minutes.
A lot of the difficulty from the game is really self-imposed.
I understand that, but the thing is, for a stealth game, it shouldn't have to be only self-imposed difficulty. That's like saying Mario is a speedrun game because you can speedrun it. In the same way, Hitman 2 is a stealth game because you can be stealthy in it.
Now, also as a disclaimer, we actually did not get that far.
That's true.
I'd say we got about 1/4 of the way through the game.
Yeah. Stealth was never rewarded. It was either necessary or not necessary. For missions where there was a hostage and he would be killed if you were not stealthy.
Right, like mission 4.
Yeah, that was a time when it was necessary. But there were plenty of times when it was just completely unnecessary. So I understand the whole idea about the self-imposed thing, and you get the little title at the end.
Right.
But I just didn't care about the title.
Well, I think the problem with that is you only get some kind of reward if you get Silent Assassin, which is you go through, you didn't kill anyone who you didn't have to kill, and I think at most you can fire 1 bullet.
You get a reward.
Yeah.
What do you get?
You get special weapons. Like, you can get the iconic pistols that he has with silencers on them.
That I did not know.
But the problem is, that is so hard to actually get.
Right. It never told me that I could get any kind of bonus for doing the stealth.
Like, you really have to know the maps. Like, I actually watched the maps that I had beaten after I had beaten them.
Right.
I watched a perfect run of that. For the first level, there was this guy who was using a glitch where you could kind of inch along in outcropping on one of the walls of the mansion you were breaking into.
And just kind of get directly into the Don's room?
Yeah, pretty much. So, Hitman 2 is definitely very flawed. I think it got a lot better with Blood Money because they added a lot more, and Absolution looks very good. I do agree there are a lot of flaws with this game. I just really like the fact that it's there because there really aren't a whole lot of games out there that I think do stealth very well.
To its credit, it does do stealth very well.
The guards are very good, I think, when it comes to the actual stealth.
I kind of dislike their senses a little bit. They're a little bit too shoddy, and the AI is just incredibly stupid.
Yeah, it tends to be.
At one point, I just gunned down the 2 guys wearing a guard uniform and just ran away. and the guards right next to him didn't even notice it was me. And I was in a restricted area nonetheless.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a limited field of view, it seems, sometimes. And that seems to be kind of spotty, too, because I remember in Mission 2, I was walking into the building. That's the one where you have to get to the sniper vantage point.
Right.
And I was walking to the building, and from 50 feet away, a guy starts coming over to check and make sure that I'm a real guard. So that seemed a little odd to me, because sometimes they're really attentive and other times not so much.
There was one issue. It was a mission where I was saving someone from an interrogation. It was a 3-layer basement complex. And if you shoot any audible gun in the bottom layer, then the guy doing the interrogation will hear you and kill the guy you're trying to save. But if you shoot an audible gun in the 2 layers above him, even if you're in the room directly above him, he won't hear it.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually had a situation where I did shoot an audible gun, and at first I thought it was fine. It didn't seem like anything was happening. Then 2 seconds later it tells me, guards have been alerted, your hostage has been killed.
Really?
Yeah.
I ran through that whole thing and just gunned everyone down, just like all the other levels. I killed all the guys in the other room with a silence pistol, and then I just walked through and I killed the guy who was doing the interrogation. I was like, wow, that was difficult.
I actually got really screwed on that mission because the first time I got all the way down, I saved the guy, I got out of there with him, pretty much silently, but for some reason, when I was going up the elevator, the cutscene started, and they found a dead body or something in a cutscene, and then they radioed this one guy, who then calls all these other guys to start coming towards me. Now, they were only going to check and make sure that I was on the level, which they immediately saw through, and I did have time to get to where I needed to go before they came. But the problem arose in this mission that I did not have the explosives I needed to actually exit the mission, because I didn't...
You didn't pick them up
I didn't pick them up in the beginning, and there was no way to get back.
So you had to basically sneak back through, pick up the explosives, and go and blast your way out again.
I went all the way back up to the first level, I left the building, and then the doors were shut because I rode that truck in. But at that point I was just like, you know what, I'm just to start over.
That sucks. It was also kind of easily exploited at points.
Really?
Yeah. There was one point at which there were 4 generals in the room across the street from you, and you were in that sniper vantage point.
Right.
And you start getting hints. Your handler starts telling you things about this general that you're going to assassinate.
Oh, before we get into this, I had a fucking glitch at that point. I got there, I had snuck all the way up there. It was my 5th time trying to do this mission. None of the generals walked into the room. That was the worst fucking glitch.
Oh my Lord.
I had done this whole mission perfectly.
And then... No generals. What happened for me was that she starts telling me these things about the guy I'm supposed to kill, apparently Googling him in the background or something. But I shoot the wrong one, and she says, oh, you shot the wrong general, Agent 47. Your mission has failed. So then I reloaded, and luckily I had saved from my vantage point. So I reloaded and shot the next one. She was like, oh, your mission failed. I was like, okay, reload, shoot the next one. My mission didn't fail. Oh, I must have gotten the right one. I just ran out. It could have been a really interesting scene.
We must have had like completely different playing experiences, because I actually shot the right one the first time I did it.
Right.
And she told me my mission had failed because I didn't wait for them to finish their goddamn dialogue. Because you were supposed to wait until you had a 100% ID on the target.
When I reloaded in such a way that she hadn't even called me yet. So I guess I just picked the right one. And it gave me credit for the mission, so I just left. Well, that's kind of my point here, though, is that the game can be exploited like that. And it didn't take much thought on my part.
Right.
Let's see. I thought that the story and characters were just terrible.
There really was a lack of a story. I think the setup was decent enough.
Yeah, the intro was really good.
They just didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, they didn't follow up on the story.
And maybe they do later, but you got 6 missions in, I got 5 missions in. There's the first mission where you're trying to go save him, but they moved him, and then it's like, oh, now you gotta go to Russia and scratch our backs.
Yeah.
For 4 goddamn missions.
For 4 missions, you're doing odd jobs for them. And at that point, you'd just figure that 47 would try to dig up his own intel.
It really kind of sucks, because it seems like in the few monologues he gets, like on that first mission in Russia, or even like in the intro, it seems like he's an interesting character.
Yeah, but they never make him talk.
Yeah.
That kind of leads into a point that I had that I kind of liked about the game, was that the cutscenes were cinematic, except there were a couple of kind of awkward things. When the guy who you save tries to shake your hand, and then 47 refuses to shake his hand, he just kind of walks away. the guy's animations at that point are just the most awkward looking thing. And it's not the fault of the technology at the time, it's just the people who were animating the wireframes did not know what they were doing.
Right.
Apart from that, it was kind of generally unpolished in some places. Like, there were clipping issues. When enemies fall backwards, they would fall through walls sometimes. That actually prevented me from completing a mission.
Really?
Yeah, because I couldn't get a key off of this guy.
I never had that issue, but I never really did run and gun. Like, if I was doing that, I was pissed off and then I reloaded.
Okay.
Speaking of the reloading, I want to talk a little bit about the save system, which I think...
Yeah, you get a limited number of saves per level.
Which I think is a really cool idea. It really does help with the entire planning idea of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, you could use it in the same way that you used it, where you go to the exact vantage point you need to.
And then try different things.
Which I didn't even think of, though. I'm kind of kicking myself for not doing that. Though, I will admit, it can be a very satisfying game when you do manage to get everything right. I remember that sniper level still, where I went through, I was completely sneaky, I shot the guy. They knew there was somebody who had shot the guy, but they didn't know it was me, so I managed to literally just walk out of there and walk all the way back, past several guards, just walking out of there like a badass.
Yeah, and honestly, I can see how that would be satisfying. I actually did a similar thing, except I ran out and they didn't know it was me. So, past there, my only other qualm with the game was that sometimes it had some really glossed over textures.
Yeah, I think a lot of the textures and stuff are kind of subpar, even for the time, but I think they managed to make really good level design.
That was actually one of my biggest praises for the game, is that the level design, it's really there.
They had really good atmosphere. You felt in that first mission like you were in, you know, some
Italian villa in Sicily,
or you felt like you were in Russia,
or in a sewer system. It was really good in that they could be traversed in almost any way, but that kind of goes back into the shortcoming with, you can traverse the mission in a different way, but why do that when it's easier to just run and gun?
Or really, if you want to get the best ranking, there's really only one way to get Silent Assassin. Because I think if you do Silent Assassin, you can't even fiber wire any guards. Now, you can use, like, anesthesia, and I tended to find the anesthesia to be fucking useless. I managed to do it on one person, and they woke up 10 seconds later. Now, maybe it was because I kicked them in the head or something.
I'm actually done with all the bad points I had on it, so all I have left are my good ones.
Okay.
The UI, I thought, was genius. How everything could be done with right-click and scroll. Instead of having to position your character in such a way that you were looking directly at the thing that you were trying to use, you could just be in the general area and then scroll to it on your option list. I thought that was really good.
I really appreciated how the game almost never paused unless you specifically pressed the pause button. Like, it never paused when you
used the map.
When the map. I guess maybe it's just with the map.
I did like the fact that it didn't pause on the map.
I thought that was really cool, actually. Like, you could go onto the map and see, like, 5 guys running your way. And just be like, oh, shit, I'm fucked. Reload.
And it made sense because it was supposed to be that he could see it through satellites. It made sense that he wouldn't just see it, like, paused in time. But my biggest praise for the game, besides the great level design, is that it really knows it's a game.
Right.
Like the clothing switch. How the clothing switch takes about 6 seconds or 5 seconds instead of what it would actually take. It's like a minute.
Like 3 minutes.
Or how long it would actually take.
He's got the full suit, you know. He's got to take off a suit. He's got to unbutton it, you know,
take off his tie.
Not only that, he folds it too. Yeah. He's very polite.
Yeah, that's true. It would really detract from the game if it took that long to switch clothes. So it kind of sacrificed realism
especially because going into disguise is one of the biggest ways to do stealth in that game.
Yeah.
In fact, no other game I can ever think of does that, where you actually change your clothes to fit in.
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
And I think that's where Hitman really kind of shines, is that it's not so much about sneaking behind like boxes or in shadows or something, but it is a lot more about blending in with everybody else.
Disguise and deception.
Which, granted, he's the only bald person among all the guards. The only bald person with a barcode on the back of his head, no less, but... I mean, it really works. And I think it's a lot of fun, and I'm actually going to go back and finish it, I think.
I may finish it in light of knowing that getting the Silent Assassin rank can unlock new stuff for you. I might actually shoot for that.
Right.
So this is actually kind of changing my opinion on the game a little bit. I'm still going to upload my original review.
Right.
Because I just want people
that's
to see
the point.
Yeah, that's the point of the whole thing.
Something I actually found to be a little pointless, though, was when you're in your weapon shed, there's, you know, a spot for every type of weapon you can get in the game, and there's at least 30 different weapons. But My thought is, what is the point of having all these different weapons when you could easily just have the assault rifle, the pistol, the silenced pistol, his dual pistols, because that's what he has. Just have a very limited number of weapons. And I say this because you're never going to use all of these weapons unless you're planning on running and gunning.
That's actually something that I wrote about, was the inventory system was a little bit silly sometimes. I could take 5 pistols, an SMG, and an AK, and he would only let on that he's holding one of those at a time.
He's got a lot of pockets, man.
Well, yeah, but how do you explain that away when he switches clothes?
Shoves it up his butt.
Yeah, I don't know. The inventory system wasn't really realistic, but I didn't really care that much. One of the hints it gave me at one point was actually contradictory to the way the game actually functioned. In that,
really?
Yeah, it said something like, you can hold 1 pistol, 1 rifle, and maybe I'm just thinking this and I'm wrong right now.
I don't think I remember that one.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't...
Forget I said that. I'm probably wrong. You can only hold 1 rifle at a time. That's it.
Yeah.
And
I actually really thought that was kind of cool, because you could only hold 1 big weapon.
But it wasn't true.
No?
Yeah, because
I could only hold 1 big weapon.
The SMG would replace the AK. So it looked like it was counting it as a big weapon. But then on the weapon select screen, I was able to equip both the SMG and the AK, and I pulled out my AK for the beginning of the mission, gunned down everything, and when I ran out of ammo with that, I took out my SMG.
Huh.
So you can break it on the inventory select screen. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe SMG doesn't count as a big weapon. So
maybe it doesn't.
It looked as if it was, because he did have to use 2 hands to carry it, and he had to drop an AK to pick it up, which is on the pistol, which he can hold while he's holding his AK, which I did like that.
I think one of my favorite tactics, actually, throughout a lot of the Russia missions were dress up as a Russian guard, holding the AK, but never use the AK, so just walk around looking like one of them, and then as soon as whoever I needed to shoot turned around, just go one hand with the AK, holding it down, and just pull out the
silenced pistol.
The silenced pistol, shoot him in the face, put it away, back to normal.
Yeah, that was pretty satisfying to do.
And I think that's really a lot of what the game comes down to, is just satisfying.
Yeah.
It really is very satisfying when you manage to do it right. Frustrating as hell when you don't.
I think I'm going to have to go back and try to do it all on Silent Assassin.
Good luck. The funny thing is, I don't understand why it gives you new weapons when you're playing for Silent Assassin, because you're not going to use them.
Oh, okay, I see the problem here.
Granted, it does let you go and replay levels.
Final words?
Overall, I really liked it. I'd like to finish it and then go on to Blood Money.
In a final analysis, I would say that, to me, the game was rather dull, but I would suggest it to other people because I could see how you would like a game like that, or I could see how certain people would like a game like that, where it's like a personal goal-setting game.
Right.
So I guess that's my final take on it. It's just not for me.
Alright, thanks for listening. This has been Button Mash Studios with Hitman 2, and we'll be back next week with Fallout New Vegas.